Hi, I'm Teacher Molly. I know it's been a while, but I'm going to be reading more of Aliens Stole My Dog by Ian Whybrow, illustrated by Tony Ross. Chapter 3, Aliens Stole My Dog. The spaceship had landed. David watched it squatting on the lawn, glowing, like a cat from outer space, ready to pounce. There were flattened daffodils and scattered tulip petals everywhere. Then David remembered the three strange things that had happened at once. One of them had been the sound of a tornado. "Just look what's happened to the dinner," Mom complained to Dad, putting the hot roasting tin down on the path. "I told him I was busy ironing. If only he'd come down and laid the table instead of mucking about in his room as usual, it would never have happened." Suddenly, David realized what had happened. It was the aliens. They'd zapped it. Dad threw down his rake, clasped his head in his hands, and shook it in despair. "David, how could you ever be so careless? Why can't you ever do anything useful, like keeping this mad dog of yours from getting in my way? I only tidied up this garden yesterday, and look at the state of it. Just look. She's a disgrace." "You've got it all wrong," insisted David. "Harry Spice is innocent." Just then, David heard a humming sound and saw a pink ray shoot out from the alien ship behind him. At once, Harry Spice vanished, and so did the rose bush she was rooting under. "Dad, help! Did you see that? Aliens stole my beautiful dog!" yelled David. Mom said, "Where is the little pest? Don't say she got under the gate again, probably off ruining someone else's garden." David stood there, completely speechless. By now, it was obvious that neither Mom nor Dad could see the alien spacecraft. In fact, Dad walked straight through it, just as if it were made of cloud, and went to help Mom by lifting the dustbin lid so that she could empty the burnt roast dinner into it. "What a day! As if I haven't got enough to worry about, what with the smell from the dump ruining my business. And now I've got nothing to look forward to for my Sunday dinner except beans on toast," Dad complained. "Yes, and I've a jolly good mind to make David clean the oven. It's absolutely filthy, black as soot," grumbled Mom. "I hope that burnt food isn't going to set fire to the rubbish," Dad snapped. "That's the last thing I need, having the fire brigade stamping all over my lawn." "That's it. Call the fire brigade, Dad," said David, "or maybe the army." "Stop being ridiculous and look for that dog," said Dad. "And don't come back in till you found her." Dad opened the back door and followed Mom into the house. The door slammed, leaving David alone with the spaceship. "I've had it now," David thought. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and expected at any moment to get zapped. Slowly, trying not to draw attention to himself, he put his arms over his ears and curled into a ball. Nothing happened. He sneaked a peek through his fingers. The spaceship was there, but still, everything was completely still. Then one of the daffodils that lay flattened by the wind stood up and spoke to him. "Stand by to come aboard," it commanded. Chapter 4, David Meets the Clergs. It is a very shocking thing to be spoken to by a daffodil. Even after all the strange things that had happened so far, David was completely stunned by it. But luckily, he managed to stop himself fainting and to put up his hands. "I surrender!" he cried. Then he half crawled, half rolled up to the daffodil and spoke into the trumpet as if it were an old-fashioned telephone. Nervously, he said, "My name is David Gasper. I come in peace. Please don't zap me." He waited for a few seconds. Nothing happened, so he said, "Over." The voice that came from the flower was weird. It was deep and sounded like somebody blowing through a straw in a milkshake. "Greetings, David Gasper," it burbled. "I come from the planet Clerg. I am the commander of the spacecraft Earth Life Explorer. Congratulations, you have passed our tests. We have chosen you to travel with us to see our leader on the other side of Universe 7. Tests? What tests have I passed?" stuttered David.
"Firstly, you have shown yourself to be an excellent space pilot," burbled the Clerg commander. You have shown that you know this part of Earth well, so you have passed the Earth Guide test. Also, you are an expert blaster and beam upper.
David said, "Do you mean that the CD-ROM I found wasn't just a game? Do you mean that it was a mini spaceship?" The commander explained that the CD-ROM was in fact a VTP, or Virtual Training Program, a small pod sent by the mothership, the ship that was now on David's lawn. It had now returned to its dock. "When you picked up the CD-ROM in the playground," the commander went on, "you put your fingerprints on it. Those fingerprints contain tiny traces of your DNA. This allowed a computer on the mothership to set up a link with the seeing and hearing parts of your brain. But we cannot communicate only with you. Nobody else can hear or see us." It was just as David had suspected. The commander continued, "We are interested in the samples of Earth life that you chose to collect. They are all safe now with us, like that small green monster with 6 legs. It was the green fly that he'd beamed up on Friday. David tried to remember what he had beamed up since. That policeman's bike, the fish and chips. Then there was Mrs. Lewis's washing. Some traffic cones, a phone box, a shopping trolley, a pair of false teeth. Oh yes, and a cow pat. Oh dear. What a good thing he hadn't beamed up any people. Just then the spaceship glowed a very angry purple. The pink ray that David knew so well flickered out and glowed all around him. "Now, that is enough talk. Our leader's patience will be running out. Stand by now for beaming up," bubbled the commander. "I'm not going in there," shouted David, putting up his fists bravely, like a little boxer, although he was still very scared. "It is useless to try to resist," threatened the commander. "Remember that we can blast you as we blasted that heat ray you aimed at us." "That wasn't a heat ray. That was the oven," yelled David. But it was no use. The clerk commander's voice was like underwater thunder. "David Gasper, I must tell you that if you do not obey, some of the life forms that we have captured already will be very disappointed. We may have to destroy them, starting with your sister." To be continued.